All right, welcome back to Gamers8. Of course, congratulations to Fantasy, who was able to win the Brood War tournament just before. Congratulations to MC, who did it yesterday. Good job to you. But now we get down to brass tacks, the serious business, the nitty-gritty of our 4 players still remaining here in the main event. My name's Kalaris, and joining me to my left-hand side, we have Wardy and Rotterdam to take us through what we're about to witness, what we're about to see, and it's going to be a good one. We've got 4 players remaining. Obviously, Solar and Cure were able to advance later on in that bracket. Clem and Reynor are sitting up at the top. 2 Terrans, 2 Zergs. Rotterdam's in shambles.
Well, no, I'm not in shambles, because I think a lot of us did kind of expect this. Obviously, we had hopes, and especially after the first day and the second day, because it's not that the Protoss players looked hopeless. Quite the opposite, even. They looked good, they looked competitive, and it really did feel that this could have been a tournament where, at the bare minimum, we had a Protoss in the semi, but perhaps even 2, because they really were playing well, and they were awfully close to closing out so many games.
Absolutely. I mean, and looking at it and how it actually breaks down here, there is a genuine opportunity. I think Reynor really is the only one out of these 4 that has, you know, he got himself world champions on the board. He's been in finals of world championships, etc., and things like that. The other 3, if they're able to be victorious here, Wardy, that would be career-defining, I think, for them. 150K. Ooh.
Absolutely. I mean, this is World Championship level StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
You know, that's what this prize pool is out to be. It's our biggest event of the year. We all know this. We all know it's coming in. And if you told me, like, you know, Clem was in the semifinals or Solar was in the semis, I can believe that. But the fact that, like, 3 of these guys, Solar, Cure, and Clem, are in the semis, and there's a very good chance that one of them could win, you're right. Career-defining is going to be the one thing we bring up for them again and again in the future.
What's actually kind of crazy is that the 4 guys that are left were the 4 guys who performed, quote-unquote, the worst of the top 8 players. The top 4 finishes of our Swiss format, they all went out in the quarterfinals. And I think it's already career-defining, though, whether they win today or not, Claris. If you would have said, Clem, semifinals, right now, this is already the very best that Clem has ever done in an offline event. Solar, sure, he's been a champ. For Cure, I think it's also a very big deal, because besides the GSL Code S, in tournaments like this, we haven't ever seen Cure go this deep.
No, definitely. And of course, big surprises in the round of 8, like Maru, for example, going out to Clem the way he did. Clem, that is, again, the biggest win of his career. He said it on the stage as well. Also, Serral, 3-0. Solar made it look easy to a degree against Serral, which, and not having Serral here in the top 4, that's kind of crazy too.
I mean, especially coming in, because to me, Serral looked like the absolute dominant player over the last few months. Ever since Katowice, he's been the one player to watch out for more than anybody else. We had a lot of guys looking good, but Serral looked unbeatable, and I really felt he was a favorite coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, yes, we do not have Serral here. However, he is still one of the names in the hat for the GOAT. So let's take a quick cheeky look at Serral.
We have the honor of witnessing a true master of the craft, the APM, the precision.
His dominance of the game is just truly unfounded.
Exactly. Best player that we've seen in the last decade, at least.
And every time he walks in the room, it's just a spectacle. Performing the Race of Zerg in StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void, one of the absolute grandmasters of all time, Yona Sarasotala.
As he approaches the bench, you can see the focus, the precise level of detail there as he prepares for his game. Absolutely beautiful.
This is it. Let's get ready.
Absolutely extraordinary. Fantastic performance once again.
I just can't believe he does this every time. You know, he's just so consistent. He's just so magnificent. This man, he just does things. Wow.
A true legend.
Oh, yes. Thank you for gracing us with your presence here, Cyril, and that beautiful performance he was able to just show there live on stage here from Gamers8. Also, what was Wardy Attenborough that I just listened to? You
Look,
like, oh, Cyril in his natural habitat. Like, what?
they just said we need to, appreciate Cyril as he should be appreciated. So we went from all this screaming StarCraft 2 screeching and put a bit of class on it, James.
Yeah, okay, all right, well, fair play. All right, well, before we actually launch into our top 4 here as well, which does not include Cyril, we'll actually take a look at the club awards, which is obviously very important because guys like Clem are able to start racking up those points here for his club, for Team Liquid. So let's take a look.
This year, esports will reach new heights. Welcome to the Gamers8 Club Awards, an unprecedented initiative that will determine the best overall esports club in the world, and also support the entire global community. During Gamers8 2023, the world's best clubs will compete on 2 levels. First, in each individual tournament, and second, in the overall standings. High placements in every title will earn them ranking points, initiating the race to the top. After 8 weeks of intense competition, the winners of the Gamers8 Club Awards will be honored as the best and most successful multi-gaming club in the world. Competitors will fight for the lion's share of $5 million. However, it's not just about the money. On August 30th to 31st, the first annual awards ceremony will take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The land of heroes awaits its new conquerors.
A lot of familiar faces there from all the other esports that are being played so far. Now, do bear in mind, this is the standings without StarCraft added just yet. So I think what's important to note here, Rotterdam, is that Team Liquid, because of Clem's performance so far, will, with StarCraft added, be in 3rd place. And 3rd place was $800,000 if they stay there.
I expect everyone in Utrecht over there at the headquarters to be watching those Clem games today.
Oh, yes.
And I told Clem as well, I was like, Clem, if you bring home the entire tourney, I honestly think they should build you a little statue in the dead center of Utrecht, right next to the central station. Would look good. Nice addition to the city.
I think it's actually really cool as well, though, because you saw Twisted Minds on those rankings, and they picked up Classic specifically for this tournament.
Yes.
Specifically for this reason. So it's a really cool initiative that is directly benefiting StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I mean, if it's annual and actually it happens next year as well, there's actually no reason why teams shouldn't just be picking up people across a load of esports to try and get themselves up in those rankings. But anyway, that's by the by. Let's talk about what we've got coming up here now. It is going to be our first semi-final between these 2 players, Clem and Reynor. It was our match to watch at the start of the day. It is the fixture that everyone is absolutely fixated on here, Rotterdam, because it's the kid going up against the new kid.
It's kid against kid.
Yeah.
That's how they have been calling each other for basically 5+ years at this point. I always actually get a bit distracted because I love these little videos of them just walking to the venue because I'm interested in the body language, right? Who's confident? They both seem pretty chill, but this is just an amazing matchup for countless reasons, not just because they are without a shadow of a doubt 2 of the very best StarCraft 2 player on the planet. They've had similar rises in a way where they were so good, James, that they couldn't wait for the day that they turned 16.
Yes.
Because by the time they finally turned 16, they were eligible to compete in a lot of the ESL tournaments. But after that, it got a bit different, right? We know that these were 2 very talented young individuals, 2 good friends of one another, even though they haven't been teammates. But where Reynor, as soon as he turned 16, he went to the quarterfinals in his first tournament to only lose to Cyril. After that, grand finals, only to lose to Cyril. For Clem, it was a different path. It was like, all right, I'm here. And it's like top 16. Very impressive for a 16-year-old kid. And it kind of stayed like that for a while. Top 16, top 16. But eventually, somewhere in 2020, Clem showed us it's not just about that other kid. This kid matters as well, and it's been a very, very cool journey to follow.
It's clear that Clem was able to absolutely dominate some of the online scenes, going up against Reynor and Cyril and things like that, as we take a look at the map veto that's about to begin here. But again, Clem said it in his interview, Wardy, the victory against Maru, it's the biggest result of his career so far, and it must fill him with huge confidence here coming into this match.
Of course it does, right? I mean, he struggled against Maru so much, and now you get an opponent he faced so many times. I mean, Roddy mentioned 2020.
Look at them.
That was like the spring of Reynor versus Clem. They played like every single day for like weeks upon weeks in different tournaments, and it was just fantastic StarCraft, and every time they meet it's fantastic. but this is one of the very few times they've played offline. They've only met offline in 3 different tournaments before now, and this is the absolute biggest of them all, obviously.
I was so surprised by that statistics. Again, you think of them as going up against each other so many times, only 3 times offline.
Yeah, not many big series offline. Online, plenty of big series in the Europe regionals, where perhaps Clem even got the best of Reynor more often than Reynor got the best of Clem. But yeah, over the years, very few offline encounters. But even if we had a whole bunch, none of them are going to be as big and as important as this one today. And I actually know what they were chuckling about there. Because Reynor actually switches up his vetoes against Terran players, where against certain Terrans, he vetoes Neo-Humanity, I think for all the obvious reasons. Late game goes, pew, 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 he doesn't like it. Against Clem, he comes in and he vetoes Gressvan, and Clem's like, Gressvan? Why? Reynor's like, well, because I know you, kid, and I know that you're incredibly dangerous on that map. And then what's also interesting is if you take a look at the map picks right now, is that Reynor came out picking Babylon as the very first map. And that also kind of caught Clem off guard. He's like, Babylon? Really? Why? Like, that's kind of supposed to be his map pick, but then Reynor picked a map that Clem really liked. And that's why they were in good spirits with one another.
Yeah, Reynor on the opposite side of things, though. I mean, as much as, yes, they've played each other a lot online and stuff like that, and Clem's been able to do well versus him, Reynor offline has been the big money player. If you think about how many world championships back-to-back that he's been to in terms of the finals and won one of them, Wardy. He's lucky. In an interview with him, when he won his round of 8 match, he was serious. I've never seen serious Reynor quite like that.
And he made such a statement in the round of 8. He absolutely dismantled and demolished Bjorn. Someone he struggled with a couple months ago in Sweden, right?
Less than that, couple weeks.
About a month ago, right? So really, he's just super serious about this event. He's extremely impressive. I'm super hyped to see Reynor. I'm excited to see how Clem can do against that, because if Reynor is on point like that, Clem's going to have to bring his absolute A game against it. Man, it's just setting up to be an epic series.
It was funny as well, because I was on my way back up to my room, and actually Reynor comes in the elevator and he says, I'm going to test the kid. I'm like, oh, yes, please. I mean, you know Reynor better than any of us, to be perfectly honest, and you can see how serious he is about this.
Reynor is a very confident individual, and sometimes people mistake that for cockiness, but he just really believes in himself for all the right reasons, and he's been looking forward to this event for months. He said all along, he circled it on his calendar, and he said, that's where I want to peak one more time. But Reynor is also realistic, and he did say, even before the quarterfinals were played, right? Before any of the quarterfinals were played, he still had to play, and Clem had to play. He's like, oh, kind of a tough bracket. He's like, I don't know who I would rather play. He's like, Maru is dangerous, but a Clem with boosted confidence, he's like, that could very well be even more dangerous than Maru, who's already seen as one of the GOATs of StarCraft 2. So Reynor also knows what he's up against today.
You know, I don't do this too often, but I want predictions coming into this one, because this is actually such a huge fixture. I'm going to start with you, Waddy. We're about a minute and a half out from the stage.
Well, I know who Wardy's going to predict, so I will go on the other side, because I think it's going to be super close. I want it to be super close. I want it to be epic. I want it to be awesome. So I'm going to say 3-2, and I'll just go on the side of Clem. I think he is the underdog going in. I think Reynor's been on this stage before, bigger stages than this before, because he's been to those finals. He's won a world championship. So I'll say Clem, bit of an underdog, but a bit of belief as well.
I'm going to go 3-2 the other side then, so Waddy was right, but honestly this is fireworks, Kalaris, because these two, it's not just that it's been close between them in the past, they have both dominated one another as well. And that's actually kind of the crazy thing. You can have Clem 3-0 on Reynor, but 2 weeks after that, you can have Reynor 3-0 on Clem. And then you wonder, is it ever going to be close between them? And then they play 1 week afterwards, and then it's a nil-biter 3-2 that goes to distance. It's very tough to predict. It just really comes down to who brings his A++ game, because that's what they both need here.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it, boys. It is going to be impact between these two. I'm going to use it. 2 worlds are going to collide here as we have Reynor going up against Clem. A matchup, a fixture that's happened time and time again. They both go back and forth. Now we find out who goes on to the grand final to fight for 150k. Reynor versus Clem.
It's the dawn of the final day here at Gamers8 in Riyadh, and we began with 16 players, Fancy, not that long ago. Now we're down to just 4.
مو طبيعي اللي بيصير الآن أعزائنا المشاهدين. هذه مباراة بتكون مباراة تاريخية. رينر ضد كليم في أول مباراة نصف نهائي معنا. الفائز على طول للجراند فاينل. الفائز بيقدر إنه يكون أقرب إنه يكون البطل ويأخذ التروفي اللي ورانا الآن. لكن البطولة الآن راح تكون في أقصى درجات متعتها، كله بسبب المباراة الأولى اللي بنفتتح فيها هذه البطولة.
After 3 days of slobber knockers, Bobby Dazzlers, upsets, slam dunks, the players still standing are Solar, Cure, Reynor, and Clem. Now, we get to find out who will be the very first champion of StarCraft 2 at Gamers8.
very exciting اعزائنا المشاهدين. زي ما احنا عارفين بادين البطوله ب 16 لاعب، مرينا بالجروب ستيج، خلصنا منها على طول رحنا للكوارتر فاينلز، شفنا امس المباريات كلها ابسets، كلها كانت نتائجها غير متوقعه، والان وصلنا لما الفرصه اللي نشهد فيها مين اللي بيكون البطل الاول اللي يوصل للجراند فاينل، مين بيكون البطل الثاني اللي راح يقابله معاه على طول بعدها، وبعدين بنشهد البست اوف 7 العظيمه اللي بنشهدها في اول مره في تاريخ جيمرز 8 من بدايته.
Not only have our players enjoyed a beautiful stay and a wonderful time in Riyadh, but now one of them is going home with a whole lot of money.
It's going to be very exciting honestly. لكن الآن جاء الوقت نقدم فيه اللاعبين الشباب على المسرح، وأول لاعب معنا هو اللاعب اللي الآن صراحة هو الفيفورت عند كل الناس، فخلونا نشوف مين بيكون.
Our players are ready, so let's bring them out. Representing Team Liquid, Clem. He's taken out the IEM champion Oliveira and 7-time GSL champion Maru to get here. He's already surpassed his own expectations, and now he has his sights set on this beautiful trophy.
كلم من فريق ليكويد وصل لما المسرح. اعزائنا المشاهدين هذا اللاعب اللي قدر يهزم بطل العالم اوليفيرا في ايام كرافيتسا وقدر انه يطلع من البطوله. زياده على كذا بالامس شفنا البست اوف 5 حقته في الكوارتر فاينلز، هزم مارو اللي اخذ بطوله الجي اس ال 7 مرات على التوالي، ومع كذا قدر انه يهزمه. حتى هو يقول انا ماني مصدق اني الان موجود في السيمي فاينل زي ما سمعنا منه في المقابله بالامس، لكن جاء الوقت اننا نقابل خصمه. كلكم تعرفون من هو واحد من الفيفورت في كل اوروبا، خلونا نرحب فيه. من فريق بازلسك رينر. من اصغر اللاعبين اللي دخلوا عالم ستاركرافت الاحترافي، ومن اكبر الابطال في اوروبا، ومو بس وقف في اوروبا، وصل مرحله انه يوصل لكاس العالم ويقدر انه ياخذ مواسم كثيره جدا في الدبليو سي اس، لكن الان يبي يكون عنده فرصه انه يواجه كليم على فرصه انه يكون اول جراند فاينلست معنا في جيمرز 8.
Taking out Oliveira, Showtime, Solar, and beyond, falling only to Classic. The European favorite Reynor has a long history of matches against Clem. And if history is to be trusted, they're gonna be exciting, and they might go in his favor.
سمعتوا في الاستديو تحليل اعزائي المشاهدين وش كانوا يقولون عن الماتش اب هذه بين رينر وكليم؟ شاهدناها مره كثير وما حد يقدر يعرف وش نتيجتها، لكن اللي يقدر انه يجيب الاي بلس بلس جيم حقه هو اللي بيقدر انه يوصل لما النهائي الان، وجاء الوقت انه نرحب فيهم على المسرح وايضا نشوفهم على البي سيز.
Clem, Reynor, join us at center stage to shake hands.
كلهم محترمين البعض وكلهم يتمنون البعض حظ اوفر في هذه المباراه، لكن يبدو لي ان الجيم اللي صراحه يكون هو الفيفورت بالنسبه لي راح يبدا على طول. خلونا نروح على طول مع المعلقين نتكلم اكثر عن وش ممكن يصير ما بين الترن كليم وايضا الزرق رينر.
I've been looking forward to this since yesterday. Let's go get some popcorn, Fancy.
It is time for our first semi-finals here at Gamers8. One of the biggest rivalries in modern StarCraft 2. This is gonna be an absolutely amazing match. My name is Loco. I'm joined here by Big. Big, how are you doing?
I am so excited, Loco. Clem and Reynor, the two European champions, the fastest players in the world in a matchup that's all about speed. It's about momentum, it's about tempo. Yes, there's strategy as well, but it's not going to matter much if you can't keep up with your opponent. And I expect both of these players to come out of the gates absolutely roaring, looking to overwhelm the opponent.
Yeah, both of these guys are very well known for playing upwards of like 500 average actions per minute throughout a game. Sometimes they even go higher than that if it's a really long match. The vetoes already look pretty interesting to me. So first off, Gressman apparently got vetoed right there by Reynor, which means that Neo Humanity is one of the maps, and then it's apparently going to be our final map. If we need to go to Game 5, apparently, yeah, Clem did not pick it any earlier than that.
Reynor wins veto chicken. He says, you know what, I don't think that's your specialty, that map. I'll leave it in there. And funnily enough, Clem doesn't pick it. He doesn't take advantage. He says, I'm going to prioritize comfort. I haven't prepared for that. So we're just going to go back to basics here, starting out the series in the top left side of the map on Babylon, a nice short rush distance. Fantastic setup for the Terran. Let's see what he can do with it. It's Team Liquid's Clem. Looking ultra focused.
And his opponent down here on the bottom right, representing Basilisk, it's Reynor. Both of these players have been competing on the European server for many years, despite the fact that they are still very young. Reynor, of course, from Italy, Clem from France. Both of them came up right around the same time. Well, I think Rotterdam already mentioned it. They were both very eager to turn 16 years old so they could actually start participating in the bigger offline StarCraft 2 tournaments, because there is a minimum age.
Cyril was dominating the international scene that year, 2018. Halfway through the year, they both came of age and were able to start going to those live events. And how quick they did rise to the top. Reynor 3 World Championship Grand Finals, 1 victory out of those 3. Big tournament win at one like this would be definitely a very, very nice feather to put in his hat.
Clem's been looking very solid as well, especially as of late. Maybe took him a little bit longer to get to this level compared to Reynor, at the very least when it comes to offline events. But at this particular tournament so far, he's managed to take down players like, for example, well, Maru, Dark, players that we assume to be at the absolute highest level of StarCraft 2. So the fact that he is doing well here in Riyadh is, yeah, lovely to see.
Especially taking down Dark, because Dark has always, been a problem for Clem until the last few months, and Clem's turned that story around. He's figured out players like Dark that used to take advantage of him with backstabs and kind of little run-by tactics and all this sort of stuff. I think one of the really interesting things, though, is his demeanor over the last few days. I really feel Clem has focused on his comfort level. He sat by the pool to prepare for his match versus Mario. He said, I know everything I need to know, I just need to not freak out. The day before that, he barely got through and had some, very stressful long waits in between series and that sort of stuff. But he's been fighting really hard to stay calm and relaxed, because I think at this point he's saying, look, I know I've got the skill level to perform. I've just got to not get nervous up there. And he knows he's friends with Reynor. He's comfortable against him. I like that shot of them walking in, before with the vetoes. He's holding a coffee in his hand. Had a little bit of swagger in his step. Definitely looked a lot less nervous than I'm used to seeing Clem.
First Reaper right now on the other side of the map. It's going to force that one drone to morph into a Spore Crawler just to try and be as annoying as possible. Clem very well known for that Reaper control. A lot of the players actually make 6 Zerglings specifically against his Reaper, just because he's so very good at controlling it. But so far, he's not really dealing that much damage yet. He's not really expected to, though, because of course Reynor is very good. Now you can see how fast these guys actually are. There's not even really that much happening yet, but they're already double-checking and triple-checking everything that's happening in this match.
Yeah, if you let Clem control the pace, it's very hard to keep up. So yeah, I think for Reynor, the goal is to sneak some backstabs in the mid-game, some little Ling Bane run-bys. Time it out. So when Clem tries to attack you, that's when you want to kind of pull him home. You got to be careful, though, because Clem is so much better at defending those these days. He does sometimes, if he sees you doing a lot of those run-bys, Siege Tank at the third base, Banshee left at home, that sort of stuff. So Clem's, he's playing a very safe opening this game as well. 2 gas. No third command center just yet, going into the quick Hellions and probably Banshees behind that.
Yeah, this is something that we consider to be a relatively old school, but it's coming back once again into the meta. There's a little bit of variety when it comes to the Terran openers, but this is the safest option, I can imagine, right? Since this is going to be, I believe, a Reynor's map pick, and since, of course, Reynor did already mess around with the vetoes a little bit, doing something that Clem did not necessarily expect, I think opening up with a quick Hellion Banshee style is really clever. It keeps you safe against pretty much all of the early game aggression that Zerg players can go for, and you can usually deal at least a bit of damage, right? Even if it's just a couple of creep tuners.
There is a bit of fear for me whenever I look at Terran playing standard against Reynor, though. You don't have any sharp edges. We know that Reynor is greedy, and he will explode on that work account if you give him half a chance. So with this sort of opening, there's no room for error for Clem. He has to be very focused on not throwing away any Hellions, nor with his Banshees either. He's got to keep that presence up on the Zerg side of the map, Otherwise, you get Reynor up, man. He's comfortable. He'll go 75 workers so early. Nice Link Scout sees the third command center timing, so he knows it's not a 2-base follow-up.
Yeah, and that's really all he needs to know. He starts up the Spore Crawlers right away. He knows the timing at which this Banshee can be arriving on his side of the map, and indeed it's already flying across. So far, everything is going well right here for the Italian Zerg. He needs to be careful, though. Hellion's getting very adventurous. Is he really? Okay, gonna drive up the ramp. That would be kind of crazy. Maybe if the Banshee is going to town, but you really can't afford losing those Hellions at this point. One drone, maybe a second.
Just one for now, trying to get those drones as they pop out of the gas. Manages to get a second drone, but is heavily damaged in the process. Extra Queens coming up there as well. So far, very nice defense from Reynor as he is going up into the mid-60s of workers. Double Evo Chamber, Lair, Baneling Nest. So far, Reynor has had a smooth opening. Clem is yet to find a real way to get any big damage. And was it just the single batch? You know, second one's going to group up down there. Fourth base hasn't started just yet. You might be able to deny a fourth hatchery. That could slow down Reynor's build-up.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's aiming for right now. He knows the timing at which that, drone is supposed to be arriving there, and he could have definitely had it. Decided to pull back the Hellions, maybe giving Reynor the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was a second or two late. That obviously happens at this level of play too, or he's like, okay, he's maybe not going for one. I'll be cycling my Hellions down to the bottom.
Interestingly, Overlord speed does pop up here for Reynor, and that could just be to help hunt down the Banshees.
Again.
Okay, just maybe a misclick there. Baneling speed does start up. That's obviously the higher priority. Fourth hatchery in the top right. More gases going down. And the armory starts very early for Clem, Loco. Do you think he's going to use these Hellions to do some sort of Hellbat Marine tank timing?
It definitely is an option. One of the developments on this map is that we now see the base for the Zerg taken in the top right-hand corner rather than the more tucked away expansion. So there is this wide open space here where Clem can definitely pressure the Zerg. It's just as this doesn't really line up with the +1 upgrades, right? So if he really wants to go for a push, I would imagine he wants to wait until all of those upgrades are done. We oftentimes do see that the armory is forgotten. Maybe he just had the resources for it. Oh no, this is a disaster though. The front door is wide open and the Zerglings get in.
Big mistake there. Banshee's in nearby, but he's going to lose a few SCVs. And more importantly, his whole army gets pulled home. He just moved out with that army. He wanted to be going towards that northern fourth. But Clem gets caught out, and this is what we're talking about, catching Clem when he wants to be attacking you. Historically, his weakness in the matchup, Reynor planned that very well.
Baneling speed is the critical upgrade right here for Reynor, and that one is just about to finish up. Buying as much time as possible here is important. He needs to make sure he gets those Banelings going, and you can see 11 of them on the production tab right now. This is looking solid right here for Reynor, but the execution has to be great.
Lings do intercept a siege tank. That is massive. I thought it was just a few Marines, but a siege tank gets caught by a handful of Lings on the back angle. Reynor's got a fifth base going up in the south. He's on 80 workers, 1-1 upgrades, and now adding Hydra upgrades as well.
He finds it. So there are Banelings morphing it up north, but the Banshees do find it here. This is what you were bringing up earlier, right? Those little moves oftentimes give Zerg the advantage. Now, Clem is very good when it comes to scouting out that sort of aggression, and he does indeed catch these Zerglings and picks off the majority of them. But in the meantime, his main attack that he was aiming for, it didn't really get anything done.
But the flank backstab was so good for Reynor. I mean, I feel like his opening was so well planned, and I'm thinking already about what impact Coach Lambo has had. So I feel like him and Reynor, when they join forces, are so unstoppable, because there's just that next level of planning and thinking about the builds and the strategies of your opponent, combined with Reynor's raw speed, his gifts, his instincts, his ability to tactically adapt to the situation on the fly. Marines and medevacs are coming forwards right now. Overlord does go down, as well as a few creep tumors in the middle. Another Ling backstab, just making sure that Clem can't get too busy on the map. But he's adapted. He's realized, leave some units there, make sure we're not wide open for it. And there is a solid upgrade lead for Clem.
Okay, now is he going to be able to pull units here to the bottom of the map to defend against this as well? It looks like he will be able to push this back. And you mentioned it earlier, Pig, he's already sitting now at 90+ workers. And that's the drone count that any Zerg player can dream of. Generally speaking, in the earlier stages of this matchup, Zerg is just trying to secure that economy. They want to try and get away with as many workers as possible, because once they get to that drone count, they can start making non-stop army. That's exactly where Reynor has arrived right now. Clem's been trying to slow him down in whatever way he can, but so far it really hasn't happened.
Something beautiful about having 91 drones for this long for the Zerg. That Hive on the way, even having the money to get utility upgrades like Furrow. Once Vipers come out, they're going to be massive, because it's double tank production for Clem, but Ghosts, I mean, they're far, far away. Yeah, you're up on 8 barracks. You'll add some Marauders in the mix, some Ghosts eventually. But for now, it's pure bio tank. And Clem has to have some urgency, but it's scary because the Zerg has the map. How do you get forwards and force some fights? If you wait too long, your siege tanks are going to be countered by the Vipers. He's got to get going, and he's decided now's the time to shove right through the middle.
Generally speaking, we see Clem winning with that snowball effect, right? That tempo advantage that he's so very well known for. But so far, he really hasn't gotten a whole lot done yet in this game. So instead, he's going to opt for a full frontal attack over here. A bunch of siege tanks over here, once again caught off guard. And that's -2 siege tanks. You need as many of those as you can possibly afford. Vipers are now on the production tab as well here for Reynor. Once those have some energy, it's going to be very difficult to compete with this Zerg army.
I wouldn't mind Reynor going for a semi-engage where he just cleans up the front 2 tanks and then disengages as well. I love how patient he's been so far. Feels like he's had the advantage in the openings. He's got so much bank and lava available. The only thing to be critical of is there's no macro hatcheries. So Reynor, if this game gets messy, he starts losing bases, he may struggle to spend that money. He's been good on his injects so far. His 2-2 upgrades are coming in, so that's going to tie up the upgrades for both sides. And he's still got those units spread on the north, ready for that flank. I think he wants to wait for the blinding clouds before he pulls the trigger, though.
Yeah, I love the spread here, though, from Clem. There's not a whole lot of creep here in the center of the map. The Vipers at this point do have energy, but is Reynor really going to collapse on top of his army? Ooh. Apparently, he decides to engage his entire army from the Terran off creep. There's a lot of Marines that will be able to easily run away against the Banelings, but the micro here has been amazing from Reynor.
Great angling before the fight. I mean, great pullbacks by Clem as well. He even took down all of the Vipers in that engagement. He's now getting on top of the Hydras. Reynor maybe overextending ever so slightly there, tries to burrow Banelings, but Clem scans, takes them out, and he pulls back to lick his wounds. Reynor spending that bank pretty quickly, but as I said, no macro hatcheries, so he doesn't instantly remax, and that is one of the problems you can run into in this scenario. That's something which I think Dark is really good at, is getting the double macro hatchery. Reynor, on the other hand, he likes to just expand to new bases. Because Clem was up in his face, though, his injects did stall out a little. He's going to replace a few of those queens and just get that map control back. But notice there's a big gap in the creep in the middle. He hasn't replaced it just yet.
He's going to be able to grab a hatchery, it looks like, here at the bottom of the map. That is very nice right here, but that was, for all intents and purposes, just a macro expansion. Now, the previous engagement from Clem in the middle of the map was by no means an all-in. He's got himself a 5th command center already done. It's settled up in the bottom left-hand corner, and he's now transitioning towards Ghosts as well. There's another factory coming up, so he's starting up that transition towards a late-game Terran army. It's very easy to get stuck on this Marine Marauder tank-based force, but Clem is making that transition right now. He knows that Reynor is going to be improving his army as well moving forward, but for the time being, it's mostly just Hydraling Bane with some Vipers for support.
Clem is up on 5 bases. That southern base is hard to defend, though. He's going to need to rally pretty much everything down here and have a giant spread. And I definitely feel in this sort of game where Clem's behind is where he's weakest. When he's ahead, he's very hard to stop. But the thing is, does he pull back into a defensive stance? I think it's the play. I think really he has to be so careful with the next few engagements. But Clem's MO, his favorite way of playing, is just attack, attack, attack. And going off creep and giving Reynor a good fight could spell disaster.
That is network finishing up right now for Reynor. This is something that he can, well, get a lot of value out of if the opponent is not fast enough to react. And we've already touched upon this a couple of times. Both of these guys are incredibly quick. Reynor right now going for a big counter-attack as well on the other side of the map. There are some units set up to defend with this. That bunker, though, is going to fall very quickly, and the siege tanks are getting surrounded.
There's not much bio there to defend the Lings. The Lings are instantly surrounding those siege tanks and taking them out. He'll finally defend, but not without severe losses. So many siege tanks going down, 10 SCVs and a pack of bio. He's going to try and counter-push on the front to punish Reynor for that move, and looks like he might be able to actually get this hatchery. Reynor is going to come down, trying to save it. Command center in the picture, and Picture gets set on fire, but it gets saved. If Clem repairs that, that'll be great. He doesn't have an SCV there. He's busy microing on the front right now. There is a huge fight going on. He does pull back, though, behind that ledge. That single siege tank giving Reynor some real trouble.
Yeah, nice EMP right there earlier from our Terran player as well, making sure that those Vipers have to back off. Now a Blinding Cloud does go down on top of the bio army. It's a little hard to see on the green map, but this army here is getting pushed back for the time being. Clem, though, whenever he can... Oh, we have Burrowed Banes in the base?
And he let his command center burn down. He was so focused on the fight that did burn down during that. The Burrowed Banelings could detonate at any moment. Abducting, going for the Ghost, misses it, lands on a Marine. Reynor, no doubt, a little annoyed at that misclick. Hydraling trying to hang on. Clem will not let off the aggression. Reynor has lots of money, but this fight is not a good angle. It feels like it's getting really bad for Reynor right now. He needs more Banelings in here, but at the same time, the bio is overstimmed. Clem might be a bit overzealous, And Reynor, though, is the one who has to give up the hatchery. Big win for Clem.
Yeah, Reynor never making that transition towards the lurkers, right, that we so commonly see in this matchup, and you can see what happens when you don't arrive at that unit count. That being said, though, he is starting to break through these sturdy units right there up north, and the Flatline does connect with the Bio Army.
Massive, massive hits, and he also he detonated the Banelings in the mineral line, followed it up with another 2 Banelings that ran into the base, clearing this 3rd mineral line. Clem's down to 62 workers against 88, and look at the supply. As scary as that was for Reynor, the reason why I was saying Clem might need to turtle up is because he just didn't have enough bank. He was so far behind Reynor. He's now built a lot of command centers, a lot of infrastructure. But you can see, look how quick Reynor's remaxed. Clem is now down 30 army supply, and I think Reynor could go across this map, attack half the army on the north, half on the south. I don't think there's any way Clem can defend that.
One of the reasons why we oftentimes see the Zerg army falling short is because of the lack of larva. So while these units are very cheap when it comes to the minerals and gas, it's very easy to forget about the larva resource. And Reynor has been absolutely on point in every macro department so far in this game. Some of the engagements haven't been that great for him, mostly because they've been taking place off creep. But strategically speaking, right, he's playing this game absolutely wonderfully. My only criticism here is that he has no tech from here, right? He doesn't have lurkers, he doesn't have ultras, he doesn't have anything that really improves his army from here. But against a ghost-based army, I mean, I guess he doesn't really need it, right?
Yeah, he ducks 2 Ghost there, but he loses the energy on the Vipers. I kind of feel like Reynor should be winning the game already. He's so far ahead on supply for a while now. He's finally going to press the issue. A great choice for him. There is a few siege tanks going down. Clem does save one of them, picks it up to safety. But Reynor's already given him a bit too much time to recover. Reynor might be a bit too careful. Burrowed Banelings again! Oh, that is so annoying for Clem. Every time he chases the Zerg army, he has to drop a scan from now on. Those Burrowed Banelings just making him extra nervous as Reynor thinks about transitioning sideways into Lurkers. Right now, I don't think Lurkers is the play. I actually think staying Zergling heavy and making sure those Vipers keep coming in with energy is the way to break him. But he's got to force a fight. Clem, by moving out, it feels like he's kind of baiting Reynor into bad angles. But here we go, Reynor maybe going to go for it.
Oh, he finds a whole lot of ghosts over here up north. Those are very expensive Terran units. Blinding Clouds going down as well. In the middle of this particular engagement, there's just so much Zerg available in this game. He's once again reinforcing this with 76 additional links. Reynor keeps pushing this back, and now we're getting to the point where not just the main and the natural are running low on resources for Clem, but his 3rd and his 4th are not going to be far behind this.
Nice harassment for Clem. He's still somehow keeping his supply close to maxed at 176. Doing anything he can to delay Reynor is vital. But that bottom base, if he loses it, Clem is in big trouble. He's going to say, you know what, the best defense is a good offense. Oh, goes for the double drop in the bottom. He gets both Vipers. Oh no, great snap. Blinding Clouds. Reynor saves one of the Vipers, but still a nice move for Clem. Reynor, though, he realizes if you've got a double drop here at Liberator in the north, that means you don't have much at home, and he's going to dive straight for the production once again.
Reynor has got a lot of money in the bank, so he can start taking some of these ambitious trades if he wants to. He's going to be able to grab that planetary fortress with relative ease. Assuming he targets it down, there it does eventually fall. 8 SCVs also do indeed end up going down. 92 additional links. He's just rinsing and repeating here. Burrowed Baneling in the mineral line as well. Reynor is everywhere.
Clem once again counterattacking. He needs to turtle up. These fights have been good enough. If we check the units lost tab, if he plays the long game, I think he's okay. I think that's going to expand. But if he counterattacks here, this becomes essentially an all-in. If Reynor can clear this army, he will counterattack and win the game. Clem, he's got a good army supply. He's got a pretty good unit setup, but he's got to be very careful to not go too deep on creep. You can see Reynor's feeling the pressure now. That mouse moving incredibly fast.
All right, once again, he's setting up over here. Reynor is going to go and engage off creep one more time. Where are the Vipers? We need some Blinding Clouds try to shut down this Terran army. And it does look like eventually most of the siege tanks will fall. There's a lot of Terran reinforcements, though, coming from that natural expansion. He is not done with this push just yet.
Great timing to pull back for Reynor, I think. And Burrowed Banelings, I did not see those either.
Yeah.
But Clem is going to be getting traumatized by that. At this point, it needs to be instinctual. Every time you win a fight and start chasing the Zerg, you have to drop a scan, because in the middle of it, it's so tricky the way Reynor's burrowing those Banelings. He keeps catching him off guard. Reynor's ready to go again. Mass Zergling Remax going in here. Clem cannot keep up with the economy. Reynor has been controlling the map all game long, and he is swarming through an avalanche of Zerg, overwhelming Clem.
What a beautiful game right here from the Zerg player. I mean, the fight over here on the left side of your screen is, I think, going to be a game-deciding one as well, because Clem just doesn't have a lot of stuff remaining.
This is so beautiful. I mean, honestly, look at this. Even the top left base, Reynor has taken a base next to Clem's base and filled it with drones. Like, that is a crazy thing to do in the midst of it. But he said, look, Clem's clearly trying to play a late game. How can I stop him doing that? And he keeps using burrow here so annoyingly. More and more SCVs falling. This is a Reynor that is well prepared and on point. He may be starting the series on Clem's map choice, but he is making it look like a very Zerg-friendly experience for the Italian Stallion.
Eventually, Clem is going to deal with this, but it's been up and running for probably the better part of 5 minutes now. He's trying his best at the very least to shut down one of the bases that's usually considered to be the Terrans. No more planetary fortress set up over here either, although the siege tanks are trying their very best. Reynor is starting to break through this army here as well on the right side. He's kept that hatchery alive. None of these trades are cost efficient, but it does not matter. GG is called as Reynor absolutely dominates in game number 1. I feel like I couldn't really... there was one engagement, I guess, where it looked a little bit shaky with that first push from Terran off creep, but other than that, he just looked absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah, it was like that base did get denied in the bottom by Clem, but I think the early game was just undeniable. And Reynor with a good early game is so scary because it's a mixture of everything. He is explosive economically. You want to be aggressive, you want to slow him down, but his defense is fantastic. His queens are split. He never misses even a second on his creep tumor spreads, and there was no way for the Hellions or the Banshees to get anything done. And that meant that Reynor was simply, I think, a little bit ahead going into that mid-game. And you see them both playing, I would say, pretty evenly skilled mid-game. But I guess these couple of moves as well is what really took the wind out of Clem's sails. It was those Ling backstabs that slowed down his first push.
This fight over here looked a little bit scary initially, but it was good enough right there for Reynor. That was after he had already secured 91 drones worth of economy, and he just had enough to replenish all of the lost troops. I think his early game was amazing, but his mid game was really strong as well. One thing we see all the time from Zerg players, even at a high level, those Bailey mindset is beautiful. But one thing we oftentimes see, even at this level of play, is Zerg players running out of larva, right? When you're playing such a Ling Bane heavy army and you don't have any macro hatcheries set up, it's really easy in the midst of this game to accidentally forget a round of Queen Inject. And if you forget that once, maybe you're okay. If you forget it a second time, however, you're just gonna get overwhelmed and you'll probably lose the game with like 5,000 resources in the bank. We see that happen all the time at a high level of StarCraft 2, but Reynor really did not skip a beat.
I think Reynor was on point with the moment his 4th and 5th base finished, just dropping lots of injects on them. You could tell he must have, because he was spending his money so well. His drone count was at 90 so early in the game. There was one fight, one of the early engagements, where he didn't remax instantly after a huge battle. And that was the only time lava looked like even slightly an issue. And even then, it was back up to 180 supply, so it wasn't a big lava shortage by any means. Really fantastic macro from both sides. We're going to be going to the next map. It's going to be Royal Blood down here in the bottom left side, representing Team Liquid. It's Clem. Things didn't go his way in game 1, but you'll see if he can turn it around here.
His opponent up here in the top right-hand corner of Royal Blood, representing Basilisk, it's Reynor.
Great planning in that last map. He looked very, very much in his comfort zone. And Reynor is a momentum beast. If you can kind of upset him and cause some mistakes, it does feel like sometimes he starts to tilt a little bit. He starts to get a bit of off focus, and it's like he needs something to go his way, so he can suddenly be like, yeah, I'm doing this. And when a game starts like that, Reynor just feels untouchable. He's like, oh yeah, I'm in charge. That was a pretty small map, but I absolutely dominated it. Now, I do believe historically he actually really hates some of the tank positions on this map. So I was thinking the last map would have been Clem's map pick, but maybe, just maybe, Reynor picked the last one and this is actually Clem's.
If I remember correctly, I believe the first map was picked by Reynor and this one was picked by Clem, but I may be mistaken there. Either way, one thing I want to touch upon as well real quick is just the effective use of Burrow in game number 1. It's an upgrade that has been around at Hatchery Tech for a very long time, but we've never really seen it used very often, right? It's become more popular over the last year or so, but I feel like the previous game was an amazing example as to why we should probably see that upgrade taken a whole lot more frequently. Reynor got so much value, burrowing not only just in the middle of engagements, but also preemptively in the mineral lines for the SCV transfer to get there. There were a lot of little engagements that we probably didn't even see because the burrow was just going on everywhere.
100%. It's such a great utility upgrade. The later it goes, the more essential it becomes. I think because Reynor had such a good start, he got it really quite fast by like 8 minutes or 9 minutes or something. And
yeah,
that's a point in the game where, yeah, you can use it. I do think, though, it's unarguable that Clem made a few mistakes in that he should have been scanning. He needed that instinctive behavior, but he's up there, big semi-finals, lots of money on the line, lots of excitement and hype, and he kept getting hit by those same kind of Reynor retreats, burrows some banelings as he goes. Clem chases him over the top of them, gets detonated at least 2 or 3 times in that game after the first one, and that's something which we're looking for Clem to fix that up in the rest of this series, and hopefully not get caught off by that anymore.
Yeah, exactly, because that is a scary loss, right? It's not like he played a poor game number 1, it's just that he got slightly outplayed. Now, I do like this move right here from Clem. So, previous game, he decided to go for the straight 1-1-1 and then eventually a third command center. That's something that Clem is really good with, but it also doesn't really allow you a big economy early on. You're almost forced to deal some sort of economical damage, right? Maybe a couple creep tumors is nice, right? Slowing down the creep spread is good and all, but Zerg is going to get a booming economy very quickly if you don't stop them. With a build like this, with the third command center this early, you don't need to deal that much damage because, well, your own economy is going to be really big.
Gonna have more comfort just doing his own thing this game is Clem. But here we got Reynor's first-person view over the shoulder. You can see the way those hands just dart back and forth across those keyboards, accessing both camera locations in the top F row as well as the control groups down there. Double tapping keys like 1, 2, 3, and 4 will, of course, zoom the camera to the units that are being selected.
It's so precise, right?
Yeah, it's incredible how fast he is and just how accurate.
Yeah, because if you're looking at this, it looks like he's just randomly pressing buttons, but that's not what's going on. He's actually controlling his units in a very precise manner to make sure that the Reaper is not going to be able to snipe any of his drones and that he can, for example, sneak these Zerglings towards the left side of the map. Now, broadly speaking, this is the same build right here from Clem. It's going to be Hellions together with Banshees, but this Banshee, it's going to be quite a bit later compared to the ones that we saw in the previous game. Didn't really get a lot of damage done, though, with the ones in game 1, so I don't really mind seeing this at all.
Pretty safe play by Clem. He's leaving the other Hellions at home for now. But as he gets to 6, if they all come forwards, that's where those Zerglings could find an opening. The Overlord sees 2 leave again, but he's always leaving 2 at home. And he welcomes Reynor. He says, I know how Reynor's going to play against me. My weakness is supposedly people doing little run-bys, doing little backstabs and these maneuvers to catch me off guard, but just completely prepared. I think 1 SCV for 7 Zerglings. That is a fantastic cleanup. You now can move forwards on the map with all of those Hellions and start to control things.
Yeah, that was Clem not so much playing the matchup or the map, that was him playing the opponent, right? Which is exactly what we want to see here. He knew that his opponent was likely going to be hiding a bunch of Zerglings out, and now he's going to be able to send these units across. That being said, though, Reynor's queen positioning is very, very good. If I'm not mistaken, he still uses 3 different control groups for all of his queens. 1 for the injects, 1 for the queens on the right side, and then 1 for the queens on the left side as well. It sounds easier than it actually is. I've given it a try in many of my own games, and I pretty much always mess it up at some point. But when it goes well, you can see that Reynor really is good at that very defensive play. Clem right now, though, starting to work on some of the drones, trying his best to get whatever he can, but that Spore Morph was so quick.
That was a very crisp Spore trick. I love it. Very nicely done. Queen there. Banshee's in range of the Spore. Mistake from Clem. He's watching the Hellions. He thought he put that on hold position just a little bit further down, but he takes unnecessary damage. Banshees are wailing on those Queens. Hellions not going to risk diving, though. He sees a bunch of Zerglings and then naturally doesn't want to risk it. Maybe he could have one good volley on the Zerglings, and maybe he would have been able to just run in and roast the drones. Clem perhaps being slightly too cautious. Does pick up a Queen, but no big damage.
Bit of a different strategy this time around, though, from Reynor, as he's opting to go for the Roach Warren here. So the Roach Warren, of course, is something that we see a lot from especially the Korean Zergs. Dark, for example, is very fond of it. It's a bit of a slower army composition most of the time, although, of course, there are timing attacks that you can go for as well with the Roach-based army. Did Reynor start up the lair at all?
Yeah, his lair is finished. He should be going for Carapace and then Roach Speed momentarily. Interestingly, Clem's going for the fast armory. Yet again, it's so much earlier than needed to start 2-2 straight away. And I mean, better early than late is what some people will say. Is there's so many times we see Terran players get so caught up in their aggression, 2-2 just doesn't start till 1 or 2 minutes later. And often it's the armory that does hold that up. But 1-1 Roach, luckily Clem's building tanks, not Widow Mines. The trick is scouting, because you've seen 9-10 queens, and oh, what a genius scan.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. He sees exactly what he's playing against, and luckily for him, he was already making the right units. Another factory immediately gets powered up here, so he can start countering those roaches nice and early. Now, this is not going to be an all-in from Reynor. We see that build every once in a while with the 1-1 roach speed. Instead, he's adding on the infestation bit. Obviously, if the opponent makes a mistake, he can definitely punish by sending all of the roaches across the map, but he's already droning up the fourth as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be for a quick hive, maybe into quick lurker.
You're absolutely right. Clem will not be broken by this. After scanning it, he dropped a bunker. He's keeping up his tank production. He's being reasonably safe. The trick is to not be too safe, though, because Reynor knows you've scouted it. And as we can see, Reynor is going away from any just mass roach timing and going for the higher tech. What now Clem should be aiming for is his next kill timing potential is a maxed out push with 2-2 mass bio siege tank. Alien Runby does actually get 1 or 2 decent lineups on the drones, so getting a bit of value.
Okay, trying to go after the queens as well, but Reynor is on top of the transfusions there. 1 infester being mixed in as well. It's just a little unit. It's not super significant if you don't control it properly, but Reynor's control has been on point. And just having one of those units sitting somewhere in a random location can change the entire game with a well-placed fungal growth. Clem going for 2 additional command centers right now. He's ready to play the macro game here on Royal Blood.
This is going to be so fascinating. If Clem can get a maxed out push across, that'll be great. He's forgotten to start 2-2 for now, though. There we go. +2 attack does start up. Armor not just yet. There it is. So many more command centers on the way, so it really does feel like he's just going to play late game. And I guess the problem for Reynor is going to be finding a way to trade out the Roach Ravager, right? It's such a meaty composition. It's very good at ambushing Zerg in the Terran in the mid game. But you get to late game, if Terran doesn't give you a good fight, you're like, oh man, each Ravager is 3 supply, each Roach is 2 supply. They have some of the worst damage per second out of any of the Zerg units. And if you've also got 10 Queens chewing up your supply, your army doesn't really deal that much. Clem is so aware of everything going on right now. I think this is the right way to play, just very slow and steady. Don't give Reynor any opportunities. We know Reynor hates the late game. He's like vocal about it, right? He's like, I hate this boring static, late game. I want movement, I want fighting.
Yeah.
If Clem forces him there, even though Clem's not necessarily a specialist at it, I think Reynor could get a little annoyed.
I know he says he doesn't really like it that much, but he's absolutely incredible at it, though, so I don't think he's gonna feel all too uncomfortable playing the late game against Clem either. That being said, it's actually an Ultralisk Cavern coming up here, which is not really a unit that we see all too often. Roaches into Ultras feels awkward. Now, this might be a very nice attack. Of course, that Roach Ravager army is much slower. Fungal Growth, however, may be able to slow this down a bit, but I think the hatchery is going to fall.
No units to capitalize. So the Fungal does massive damage, but without the units to finish the Marines off, they're all wounded. They can go back and heal up later. A great snipe for Clem, keeping Reynor on 4 bases. He's on 4 bases as well, and he's got way more command centers coming in. Tanks, Marines, Marauders. The Ultras, I don't mind as a choice, but I do think Vipers are still going to be essential.
Yes.
Blinding Cloud is massive, and the first Viper does queue up for Reynor, but he's already running into what we call the supply problem of Zerg, which is, if we had 300 supply, Zerg would just be absolutely overpowered. They'd be cracked. You'd just be like, hey, I can make as many roaches as I want. There's no point where that becomes such a big problem. For him, though, he's got to find a way to get some fighting going, get some of the, trading these units away.
Yeah.
Whereas Clem's like, oh, let's just sit here. I'll harass you. These drops are always going to be better value for me. I'm just going to go for 3-3 and Ghosts and have a nice time in the late game.
Yeah, this is where that Roach becomes your crutch as well, right? Because it's tricky. You want that unit in the early game and in the mid game for stepping towards a higher supply count and for making sure you can actually go up towards the hive tech. But at the same time, it's so tanky, it's so survivable that you don't usually want to keep it around for that much longer either. So right now, the Roaches are soaking up a ton of supply that's not particularly useful in the upcoming engagements right here for Reynor. Clem sneaking right here on the right side, already took care of that golden base. I think he's going to be hunting down this expansion without any issues.
Good choice for Reynor to give that up. I mean, that was an ugly army for Zerg. It was like a ball of Banelings and a ball of Roaches. That's a siege tank shooting gallery. That's just fodder, right? Like, I think there was 1 tank shot killed 8 Banelings, and Reynor was like, yeah, let's not fight down this alleyway. This is not a good place for me right now. He's going to pull back and try to move in that other direction. Now that he's got Burrow and some Infestors out, I would love to see those start getting set up for the ambushes on the map. Burrow Banelings gave Clem a lot of trouble last game. Burrowed Infestors would be fantastic.
I think he may be thinking about trying to cut this Terran retreat path off. He needs to be so careful. Clem does see it right now, but the blinding clouds are absolutely massive. He shuts down the siege tanks. The Ultralisk over there derping a little bit though. They don't get in the middle of the engagement until right now, but this was probably the best catch that Reynor can hope for. He wants to trade out those Roaches and Ravagers regardless, and if he can take down the Terran army in the meantime, that's a perfect fight.
Bravo, the Bane, what's it called? Blinding Cloud of all blinding clouds. It landed on, I think, 5 siege tanks. Massive, massive use for that Viper. And now Clem has to
we have a lot of fights off creep, right? Which is kind of interesting. Most of the time, we saw that in game number 1 as well. Most of the time, Zergs are trying to fight on creep. And if you're watching this and you feel inspired, I recommend you also try to take all your engagement on creep. But Reynor here is looking at these fights like, you know what? I think I see a little bit of a vulnerability. I'm going to try and get used. Oh my god, that's massive.
The borrowed fungal. Oh, Clem's so quick. There was half a second in between the second fungal, and that allowed 9 Marines to survive. Still a good trade for Reynor. But he even unloads the Marines. He gets revenge on the Infestor that hadn't borrowed. Clem, you tricky boy, you. That was a nasty little bit of revenge. And he snipes the hatchery in the top left as well. Clem is really holding his own with Reynor very well, and the command center count continues to grow. He is not just trying to attack, he's going for the Iron Bank. He's going to try and get up to 10 orbital command centers. He's got planetaries reinforcing on all sides. The ghost count grows, as does the tank count. And I do think this style is a little weak. If Reynor can hit a crisp Broodlord timing and break the tank line, take out a base or two, what do we know about Reynor? He doesn't like to go Broodlords very quickly in this matchup. He'll only do it as a last resort, and that gives Clem all the time in the world to get those mech upgrades and add a few Thors when needed.
Exactly. He's setting up his transition right now towards Ghost Mech. He doesn't necessarily have to go all the way. He could go into Liberators as well. Once again, though, you mentioned it, Clem wants to, or Reynor rather, he wants to continue fighting as he's pushing right here at the front. Ultras are dying pretty quickly, but not before taking down one of the planetary fortresses. Those Banelings coming in very handy, but these traits, they are very expensive. If you look at the resources in the bank right now for Reynor, he doesn't really have the money here to constantly replace this, so he's looking for another fungal growth over here. Okay, gets a couple units.
Oh!
Massive fungal growth though on the high ground.
Big fungal. Luckily no Banelings there, otherwise Clem's army would be kaput. He actually gets a decent fight. Reynor, he landed a great fungal, but he didn't have the Banelings or anything to capitalize on it. He's now out of Infestor energy. He's out of Viper energy. He's trying to build mass Ultra against mass Ghost Siege Tank right now.
Yeah.
And if he can't get, if he goes for a drop or a Nidus somewhere where he can open up a new front, that'd be great. But here on Royal Blood, with Clem holding that central base high ground, he can branch out his defense from there in one central location. As long as he holds the center of the board, he has control over what happens. He can send these little drops off to the left and right. And Reynor is definitely taking the worst end of the trades. We'll have to check in on the units lost tab soon to see how it's gone. So far, a 4,000 resource lost advantage to Clem. So Clem has lost less resources than Reynor. He's also rounding out his tech with Blue Flame and +3 vehicle weapons. That's the magical point where Terran can make Hellbats that one-shot Zerglings no matter what.
Exactly. That's a really nice set of upgrades finishing up right there for Clem. He's going into the Blue Flame as well. He is ready to slow down this game even more if he wants to. He's got a lot of command centers. So any command centers that you see going down right now to, for example, Banelings, they're structures that Terran can relatively easily replace. It's a cost-efficient trait for the Terran pretty much every single time. Reynor trying to swarm over his opponent. Yes, he can replenish the army that he's got right here at least one more time, but he is running out of money here. He's got about 3,000 resources in the bank, which is nice, but these are some expensive Zerg forces as well.
Those hatcheries keep getting denied. This might be the rare game where the Zerg's bases don't actually mine out that quickly. Oh, wow,
That's
wow,
huge.
wow. That is a shooting
Beautiful
gallery and a
play.
half. That is not what you want. You can see the reaction there. Reynor was trying to eat his own lips in pain. That was not what you want. 5 Ultras going down for free. 1 Ultra and 1 Baneling escape home to tell their buddies the tale of the Ghost and its ridiculously powerful sniper rifle.
That's not what you want to see. I feel like there's a lot of Terran players watching this pick who exactly want to see that. That's what they dream of, sniping down like 5-6 Ultras for basically free. Just a little bit of Ghost energy. Now the Neural Parasite starts up as well, because Reynor needs to fight Ghosts, and oftentimes the best answer to Ghost is going to be the Ghost itself. Either way, though, there is an Infestor over here at the bottom of this engagement, although it may have just gotten sniped. Ooh, it's still sitting there.
Just one little underground boy poking his eyeballs out and checking out what's happening, giving great information for Reynor. I do feel if Reynor could open up a new front, a big doom drop of Lings in the main, anything like that would be nice, because the longer he lets Clem get set up, the harder it's going to be. Oh, the Infestor tries to unburrow, but it gets shot down. The second fungal does go down, and all those ghosts on the front line fall. A lot of the tanks were on siege. They were in the middle of moving forward. This is perfect timing for Reynor to pounce.
Yeah, that being said, though, this feels like a relatively desperate attack to me. Reynor is going to be able to get rid of a couple of the building command centers, and he does trade out armies. Supply-wise, this is looking pretty good as well for Reynor, but I don't know if I like these engagements that much. I would not mind seeing him transition towards another unit composition.
Clem's army count's a little low right now.
Yeah.
He's got to be careful of the Remax. Taking that gold base as well is especially dangerous. These tanks are out in the open. I much preferred when he was kind of mostly on the high ground.
Yeah.
You lose your tanks, you lose your anchor to your defense. That's where things get bad. On the other hand, Reynor, I feel like I've been shouting at him for years to go mine out your opponent's bases when they're turtling. He's doing it so well in this series. He sent 20 drones to the bottom left base. As long as Clem's not dealing with that, he's stealing resources from Clem's side of the map. Every mineral you mine there is a mineral Clem won't get to mine later. This is fantastic play for Reynor. The problem is the middle is getting too big, and another catch in the bottom right. That sensor tower just tipping him off.
Yeah, that sensor tower is very, very helpful there, but Clem is also just crossing his T's, dotting his I's. Here he comes again, though. Reynor moving forward
Those
once
tanks,
more.
bit
With
exposed.
just, yeah, a lot of Ultraling Bane. This is not a
unit.
unit composition we see too often, right? But he's just blowing up so many Terran units.
Oh, the planetary. He doesn't click the banelings on it. That's a mistake there for Reynor. Getting rid of that planetary would have been very nice. I think that was a decent trade for him. He might be able to do it again. Ultra Ling Bane continuing to come in. Now, you might think Ultra is very weak to Ghosts, but as long as he's got Lings, Banes, and Infestors damaging the Ghosts, stopping them from sniping, Ultras are a fantastic unit. It's just that if you ever get caught out, they are so weak to snipe. Queen's going to come forward to deal with the Liberators. Looks like he has just enough to do it. The Ultra Ling swarming. Clem's counterattack here, a little bit half-baked. He already lost his siege tanks in the previous push by moving them to the low ground. Clem, is he getting too overly aggressive in this game?
Yeah,
he's giving Reynor opportunities that shouldn't be there.
I wonder if Clem isn't quite realizing how much economy there actually is. Now he's found the base as well at the 9 o'clock position, so that's nice, but Reynor has got a lot of income here over the last, well, 10 minutes or so of this match. His income has been absolutely off the chart, so maybe a bit of a misery there, a little bit of an overextension by the French Terran player.
How many factories does Clem have in this game, I wonder? Because he's only building one tank at a time right now. I wonder if he's just decided...
Got 3, I think, yeah.
There we go. Okay, 3 tanks are building. I really feel having about 5 to 7 tanks spread across the high ground is very, very nice. And I know Ultra Ling doesn't care as much about siege tanks as like heavier Baneling Hydra compositions, for instance.
Good.
But it's still very important to have them. Definitely a few more Hellbats mixed in. This is one thing. Notice Clem forgets to build Hellbats in the late game. He did this against Dark, and I noticed it. It looks like Reynor noticed it as well. You're not meant to have 100+ Zerglings in a maxed army battle because they're just going to die to Hellbats.
He's got Blue Flame.
But Clem's not building Hellbats. He's got Blue Flame and +3.
Yeah.
So this is really good studying and preparation for Reynor.
No, I'm with you. Making Hellbats here would be absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of Ghosts in the mix to counter all of those Ultras, but those Fungal Growths and Lings and Banes on the back of it are absolutely amazing. The Ghosts are not really achieving that much against this particular army composition. Another command center that was, I believe, an orbital ends up going down. Okay, there's some good snipes here as well to punish the Zerg on their way out, but it looks to me like Reynor is ready to just rinse and repeat as Clem is just unable to really get going on the right side of the map. There's going to be a tactical nuke flying across, but 2 Ghosts are going to have to pay the price, and of course that nuke is nowhere to be seen.
Oh, the snipes, even taking out a ton of the Overseers there. The Ultraling Bane remax is good. Reynor has mined out so much from that gold base and that low ground, the high ground base in the bottom left. He's got more Ultra Infestor coming in. The Corruptor Edition is so good as well. So many times Zergs don't have anything that shoots up other than Queens, but a few Corruptors is going to do so much damage.
There's the Hellbat transition, by the way, that you were talking about. +3 together with Blue Flame is absolutely amazing on those Hellbats. Reynor is incredibly Zergling heavy, and the reason why we see Zergs usually transition away from this army comp is because of the Hellbat in the late game. The Hellbat is a mineral-only unit as well, just like the Marines, so it's an easy transition to make right here for Clem, assuming he's got the factory count for it. Now he's once again trying to secure the bases on the right side, and he really is going to need it. He's going to run out of resources very quick if he's not careful.
His Ghosts are very clumped. If he gets fungled once on them, it's lights out. He cannot afford to replace this army. You can see in the income there's 3 red arrows for for Zerg on the minerals, and that's what's important. Massive income advantage. If he can clear this Terran army, Reynor will have this in the bag. He is rolling in. The Banelings go around the corner. They start to contact the front row of Ghosts. Great spready for Clem, but the Ultras have already taken down the Siege Tanks and Thors on the low ground. Fungal does come in there with the ambush on the Ghosts. Not enough units to capitalize. Some of those Ghosts will get back, but this has been a terrible series of losses for Clem. Reynor can replace that. I don't think Clem can.
Yeah, he's trying desperately to replace it, but it's not like Reynor is particularly rich here either. He does still have 76 drones. There's a base mining at the 9 o'clock position that I think Clem should have been trying to deny for a long time. Obviously, there's a whole lot going on in this game as he now also gets more of his army surrounded. Corruptors finish some of the medevacs off, and GG is cold.
Fantastic play there by Reynor. And the frustration visible on Clem's face. Reynor just keeping things so tight and organized. Those waves of attacks. I mean, he had multiple attacks that were trying to work their way down around the bottom right of the map. Get caught out. Lots of Ultras getting sniped. Baneling Morphs getting caught. Clem was well set up. But there's a point there where you need to take a breath as the Terran, I think, and really let those orbitals work. Like, you can't really
spend 5,000 resources on command centers and not really get any value out of them, right?
One big fight where you throw your army away, you can't replace it right away. You need to like be so patient, which is why Maru's the king of just sitting there, right, and turtling up, giving himself that time before he moves out.
This was beautiful, by the way. That's when he was trying to go back home. Clem was just driving his siege tanks through the right side of the map after taking care of 2 hatcheries there. It was almost like a victory, you know, march back home. And there were some excellent engagements. This was obviously a major error right here from Reynor. And honestly, some of these fights really did feel a little bit desperate, because how many times do we see Ultraling Bane just sort of thrown away over and over and over again, and then eventually Terran just overwhelms it? But Reynor trading good enough, and he had enough economy to replenish.
I think moving down this ramp by Clem was his biggest, tactical error in terms of positioning. I think the tanks on the high ground, he was taking very good fights. Even when he lost the high ground base there once to Banelings, it was very expensive for Reynor. But when he moved to the gold base, I think I would have loved to see Clem have the idea of, I'm going to drop an orbital, transfer SCVs. If he swarms it, I lift the orbital, I run the SCVs away, but the tanks are still up on the cliffs, on the high ground. You have a few units spread on the low ground. You have a little bit of that going on, but you don't necessarily need to commit so much to the low ground. The moment you move your artillery to the front lines, which is what he did with his siege tanks, they got knocked down, and it felt like there was such a shift in every fight from that point onwards.
Absolutely. Clem could not really secure the right side of the map anymore, and he was starting to run out of resources there. Reynor knew exactly what he was doing. Either way, that brings us to Ancient Cistern, which is going to be game number 3 in this best of 5 series. Spotting here in the bottom left-hand corner, he needs your energy. It's Clem.
And in the top right side, one more game to get it 3-0. He's looked unstoppable this tournament. Let's see if he can keep the momentum going. It's Reynor. You know, I've been talking a little bit about how Solar has a fire lit underneath him because Maru, his teammate's been eliminated. I think it's the same for Reynor here. His Basilisk teammate, Serral, getting knocked out. It would be kind of, you know, everyone talks about the Serral Maru. We want to see them in the finals, but I think Reynor Solar actually would be a fantastic match as well, and to see those two guys try and get revenge on each other. Reynor obviously cannot lose sight of what's in front of him, though, because Clem is not going to give up easily. He's handled the adversity so well this tournament, and I think he's going to really give Reynor a good fight here. I would be very surprised if he goes down 0-3.
I definitely would also be surprised if that ends up being the case. He's by no means playing poorly. It's just a little bit of refinement that we need to see here coming out of the Terran player. Not opening up with any of that double barrack shenanigans, right? That we see most of the Korean Terran players find a lot of success with right now, where they go for the triple Reaper start. Not really something that Clem has really been playing that much, despite the fact that he's really good at the Reapers. You think there's any particular reason as to why?
Yeah, I mean, I did actually speak to Clem a little bit, and it's kind of interesting. I feel like Beyond is just so exceptional with his micro, with the Reapers, and Clem's tried it a few times, the different Reaper openings, 2 racks on the low ground and stuff, and he said he just hasn't found as much success with it. Talking to a few other Terrans as well, they feel like what's really good about the different heavily aggressive openings that Maru favors a lot as well is it gives the Zerg many opportunities to make mistakes. And if the Zerg slips up a little, it can spiral and they can just get absolutely wiped. But on the other hand, if you're more of a conservative player, say maybe a European player, because let's be real, most of the Europeans are a bit more conservative with their risk-taking. They usually say, well, yeah, I get too frustrated though. If I commit to too many of those heavy Reaper openings, if they defend properly, I end up behind. And I don't like just kind of putting myself in that scenario from the get-go. I don't want to rely just on a bit of Reaper Micro to end up in that position. That's why Clem's sacred place is his 3 command center opening, right?
Yeah. Now, it feels like one of those builds, like the triple Reaper one, where if you put it in a spreadsheet, it'll probably always come down to a negative, assuming the opponent plays it perfectly. Now, obviously, there's a lot of room for mistakes from the Zergs, but a lot of the European Zergs, like, for example, Reynor, they play a very clean game. They don't really take a lot of risks, so I'm not really too surprised. But it's funny to see the South Korean Terrans, considered to be, well, the very best in the world, right? It's funny to see them playing different builds than the Europeans. Either way, standard openers right here from both players. Clem once again opting to go for the triple command center start. And we see him actually going for another barracks here. Interesting.
Yeah, the double barracks. Just get the medevacs, the Marines going early can be very nice. There's also a few cute little Hellbat timings you can do with this as well.
Absolutely.
Or even just drive the Hellions in car form, get some good lineups on the Zerglings. And skipping the Hellion Banshee, the Hellion Liberator stage of the game, probably a good idea. I feel like Reynor is so good with his Queen movement. You want something that can smash through Queens, like a bunch of Stim Marines. Otherwise, you run in with Hellions. It feels like the Queens are always in front of them. You'd think, this unit's like 3 times faster. How am I never catching you out of position? But Reynor's like, well, I have my Queens in 3 different places at once, so there's no weak spot.
Yeah, they also have far less terrain to cover, right? So anyways, Clem taking the command center over here on the low ground and building the gas over there. That's the second gas. Could sometimes be a little bit of a misread for the Zerg. A couple SCVs end up going down here, though, which is not exactly what you're looking for here as Clem. Either way, he's not going to have Banshees in this game. The Banshees honestly haven't achieved much in this series. Obviously, they're nice to keep you safe early game as well. But Reynor hasn't really displayed any sort of a roach early game aggression, right? He hasn't gone for any sort of attacking in the earlier stages of the game. His goal, very much so in this series so far, is to play very defensively. And I don't really mind Clem skipping out on those Banshees here. Instead, opting to go for units that are going to give him a little bit more of that tempo advantage.
Saw Clem kind of blow air out through his cheeks a little bit there after losing those SCVs before. Hoping that he can keep it together mentally. Because Reynor, if you make any mistakes, if you take your foot off the the pace and the control, he's going to punish you. He will start to run away with this. It's a big map, Ancients this turn, but it's got some good tank positions, some lovely little choke points and high ground, low ground dynamics. Alien Reaper finally getting themselves a creep shooter there on the south, and the lair starts up for Reynor.
Absolutely. We'll have to see if he decides to go for the Roach Warren or the, what's it called, the Baling Nest here in just a moment. I'm going to make the assumption it will be the Baling Nest because it is just a more comfortable style for Zerg players to play. He's gone for the triple Spore Crawler as well, and that's an indication that Reynor doesn't really know precisely what he's playing against, because those Spores are going to help him out against units that aren't really out on the battlefield. Obviously, they can still be helpful against, for example, a medevac that decides to overstay its welcome, but now you will see the timing of 2 medevacs flying past that Overlord, and you will realize that those Spore Crawlers aren't really going to achieve all too much. And this is a pretty scary attack, right? This is a whole lot of Marines. There's still those Hellions from earlier too. Actually, are they still around?
Yeah, the Hellions are, I believe, in the 3rd base right now. Is usually where you send them to guard from Ling Run by's Marine Rally on the natural, but only 4 Marines, and they will get surrounded and taken out. Stimpak's not going to help there, and SCV-02 falls as well. Great moves for Reynor with the backstabs, catching Clem off. I mean, Clem's reasonably well prepared for it. It's not like he's going, oh, wow, that's the last thing I expected. Reynor's just very good at timing it. He says, I know your Marines want to come in and fight my Queens. This is the exact moment I'll dart in and just try to slice away. You know, put a nail in your car tires in the parking lot, and then you might think the shopping trip went well, but you go home and realize there's a lot of stuff that you've got to sort out at home. I think it's really... Even in game 1, remember, there was like that Marine tank timing moving out, the Ling backstab game. It's so non-stop. He's really keeping Clem busy on his side of the map.
Here we go, little Zergling run by once again over at the 3rd base that was just secured here by Clem. There are those Hellions, and one of them has now morphed into a Hellbat because his friend has already gone down. And this is going to allow him to defend here, but not without also losing 5 SCVs. In the meantime, the aggression that Clem really wanted to go for, because his combat shields just finished up, but during all of that, it was slowed down a little bit, right? He's not really achieving that much here. Now, there's a Widowmine drop coming in.
I do like
Widowmines are always nice.
Yeah, I like the Widowmine style. On a big map like this, it's hard to get tanks across there. It's going to be a nice change of pace. And if he can start getting some momentum going, then he can definitely catch the Italian player off guard. Upgrades only now starting for Clem, so incredibly late upgrades for him.
Reynor's so fast.
Yeah, he's already on top of it, but a good pullback for Clem. He can, of course, go for the 4th base a bit later.
There's a certain crispness here to Reynor's playstyle. I mean, I say that right as these Widow Mines seemingly go unnoticed, but yeah, he's gonna be able to burrow them. I should not have said anything. It's the famous caster curse I've heard so much about. That being said, though, 7 SCVs have also gone down on the other side of the map. Widow Mine harassment over here continues at the newly acquired base for Reynor. Trying his very best, though, to defend against everything here.
Natural Mine Drop got another 6 workers there, with these Marines doing a great job of distracting. A few Marines get left behind, but better than letting those medevacs get shot down. I really like the way Clem dropped the 4th, realized there weren't many drones, and he carried forwards to the natural, so he spread Widow Mines on both the natural and the 4th with a single drop.
Yeah, these Widow Mines are not taken care of yet. There's actually a couple more showing up, which may actually draw Reynor's camera back to this location, which is kind of ironic because he probably could have just let him sit there. There's a chance that he would have done more damage that way. But still, a lot of workers have gone down here. Reynor's going to hold down the drone button once again to try and recuperate some of those losses. But now Clem is starting to pile on the pressure a little bit, right? We always talk about the tempo advantage. We always talk about the snowball effect. It's a little bit difficult to describe, but this is where Clem started to take care of a couple drones here. He's forcing his opponent to be on the back foot. He's taking care of some of that creep. It's going to make follow-up attacks from this particular position a lot easier as well.
Clem is playing a style that allows him to exert his speed over his opponents, and that is exactly what he's doing right now. The Marines on the front just incessantly distracting Reynor, clearing up things here and there. Look at that. The Widow Mine gets out of Spore range, takes out a drone, forces the Spore Crawler to move. The drones are off mining on the 3rd base. The Marines are going to go around to that new 5th in the top and try to get the cancel, but Reynor says, I will not sit back and just be defensive. He snuck some Banelings across as well.
Yeah, the Banelings are trying to come in right now, but they should be within the radius right here. Beautiful Widow Mine hit, taking care of at least some of those Banes before all the SCVs could go down. At the same time, the Marine drop at the 12 o'clock position ended up taking down the hatchery there too for Clem. This game is looking much better right here for the friend.
These Widow Mines are non-stop. This is so annoying, and this is exactly what you want to do. You want to take the confidence away from Reynor. Stop letting him go first, and that is exactly what Clem's done this game. He's got 8 racks pumping away. He's got 2 factories pumping Widow Mines. 4th command center is landing and a planetary starting. Clem is no doubt putting most of his focus into the aggression, but by interrupting Reynor's rhythm, you can see Reynor's map presence shrink. Now, it's not that he's clearing the creep everywhere. Reynor's just too busy defending Widow Mines. He's not able to spread creep right now.
That being said, though, this tempo here is really nice and in favor of Clem. There is a light at the end of the tunnel right here for Reynor as he is getting himself that Lurker Den going. And the Lurker Den is fantastic when it comes to shutting down these particular pushes. If you burrow a couple Lurkers over here, you burrow a couple Lurkers at the bottom of your bases as well, it's going to be very difficult for Terran to continue. And losing medevacs like that is the last thing we need to do.
Hard to keep track of you having 2 or 3 Widow Mine drops on the map at all times. And does let that one fly in. Reynor on 86 workers, as you said. Hive and Lurker Tech, very scary. Lurkers outrange this entire army. You can still do okay, either once you get ghosts out or by multi-dropping and keeping the fighting messy and scrappy. But right now, Clem is down double upgrades, and that's painful. We haven't really talked about it that much because he's been doing a good job with the Widow Mine harass, but his Marines are nowhere near as scary as they're supposed to be, and he completely forgot to start +2 armor. Clem is doing a good job of keeping Reynor busy, but he has to keep playing a tight game. He's in danger of Reynor making around a Lurkers, counterattacking across the map, and just destroying him.
Yeah, at this point, this Terran army, other than Micro, doesn't have something amazing against Lurkers. You got to be so careful here. Another hatchery, though, did end up falling. Another Widow Mine drop is coming in as well, and there's no reaction just yet. And that's another 14 workers going down. A little bit of a head shake right there by Reynor. Not what he's looking for, but there's the Seismic Spines research on the production tab for Zerg. That's going to allow him to get additional range on the Lurkers, and they are coming up right now as well. Ghost Academy in the meantime, though, here on the production tab too for Clem. He now secured that 4th base on the left side of the map. He is ready to play a bit of a longer game too, so he's not getting stuck on only doing this Marine-based aggression.
Lurkers on the way, Burrowed Banelings on the way. He's making a drop alert as well, I believe, to do Lurker drops. And in position on the south to defend Clem. Reynor on point in the north. He's also going to jump on top, and Clem is watching. Good micro for Clem, but there's 2 Banelings right there. Ooh, got to be careful about stepping on those.
Yeah, we're very used to seeing Widow Mines blowing up entire armies, but Banelings that are burrowed underground can do very similar things. Now he sees the Lurkers as well. He must know that they were on the horizon here eventually. Queen still with a lot of energy, trying to just buy as much time as possible. And now the Lurker upgrades are kicking in.
Oh, the Banelings are on both sides of the ramp. The Marines are unloading. He scans. He gets rid of the Banelings on the right, but not on the left. Marines are going to deny that 5th base there, or there is a new 6th base on the bottom. So, I mean, Reynor is still on 5 base, but Clem himself is getting a 5th up. He's also making a crazy number of command centers. The problem is he's only on 2-1 upgrades.
Yeah.
He's starting to get ghosts out, but he needs to remember to start those 3-2, and he's got to, like, these fights are going pretty well for him, so he's finding good engagements. But if he doesn't realize those upgrades are as bad as they are, he might take some fights that are very sloppy.
Careful now. Clem maybe getting a little bit ahead of himself, taking one of the Baneling shots to the face right there, which is not what he's hoping for. He is adding on a lot of command centers though, so he's playing aggression, while at the same time also setting himself up for late game macro. Now he doesn't have the boost available, it looks like, so a couple of the Hydras end up dealing a lot of damage.
Full medevac got sniped there, and a lurker drop comes in. Clem does clean up at least one of those lurkers. Looks like both of them did go down, but he's getting counterattacked. Reynor says, now is my time. Lurkerling Bane gonna deny the 5th base of Clem. Great counterattack from Reynor after absorbing punch after punch after punch. He just dives across that map and says, you have spent a lot of your resources attacking. Are you ready on the defense? Clem reset to 4 base. Now it's versus 5 base Zerg, so that's not the end of the world. The big problem is those upgrades.
Yes.
They've been forgotten. Clem is caught up in the high-paced tempo, the momentum, the moment, the importance of this match, and he is forgetting a few of the fundamentals.
If you see those Zerg upgrades on the production tab finishing up, we're going to see that here in a couple of minutes from now, and Clem has still not started his own. He's going to be in a world of trouble, because those Zerg units are just going to trade far more effectively. Clem has technically got all of the tools at his disposal, but I am with you. Those upgrades should have started up literally minutes ago at this point. All of the trades are really nice, though. Another hatchery, no cancel there. Another hatchery ends up falling, but Reynor is starting to feel a bit more comfortable here.
Yep, Clem is playing a very fast-paced, mobility-based style. With this style, you really have to keep being aggressive because you're not so strong on the defense without things like siege tanks. That means, though, if you're constantly attacking, you're distracted, and oh my lord, Lurk is splitting into 3 different bases at once. Reynor realizing the weakness of Clem here. Clem is going to be struggling to deal with that. He's using Liberators as best he can, trying to pull his SCVs away, but he's trying to attack at the same time. Clem needs to pull back on the front and needs to deal with those Lurkers, or he's going to take catastrophic damage.
Clem trying to invite the mass of that Zerg army off creep. He's trying to bait it into the Widow Mines, but at this point the majority, if not all of them, have been detonated, and that fight also gets pushed back. In the meantime, Reynor is just trying to harass the opponent and just create as many distractions as possible. Clem's economy is still good, but again, I just want to emphasize the upgrades have not been started up here. Reynor's +2 adrenal glands as well as +3 armor are finishing up here within the next few seconds, and that is going to be a very significant power spike right here for all of these Zerg units that we've been seeing, well, over the course of this entire game.
You can tell Clem is now a bit tangled up dealing with those lurkers. There is still one lurker in the back of the natural. Reynor has taken his time to gather up an army, and he says it's go time. He's going to shove the south side. Not a lot to defend there. A single Widow Mine and a handful of Ghost Banelings, a few of them manually detonating, but the Ghosts do defend. No Overseers on location. A bit of a mistake for Reynor. Does get caught out. Widow Mine's finally dealing with the lurker in the natural. That got caught on the picture-in-picture. But Ling's now going to get on top, and Clem's economy has already been taking a beating. If he loses any more, he's in huge trouble. 34 SCVs fall. The Bio Ghost barely managing to hold off the Hydra attack of Reynor in the bottom right, but Clem is on the ropes and Reynor just keeps on swinging.
Clem has done a lot of economical damage in this game, but not enough to the point where Reynor felt like he needed to tap out of this match. And economical damage alone is not going to cut it. He still needs to be able to address the main army here from Reynor. Despite taking all that damage, Reynor managed to stabilize. He's got a killer economy right now. He's got fantastic upgrades, and he's got a unit composition that's frankly better right now than the one that Clem has been producing. Clem, though, still has on, well, a good amount of bases here, but this is starting to slip out of his hands. He was in full control of the pacing of this game just a couple minutes ago, but right now Reynor is ready to strike back.
He starts +2 with 2 armor. At least he realized his upgrades have been forgotten. That's why he looks so frustrated. But he didn't start +3 attack then, and he may have thought he did because he didn't have the money to start both. He's trying to defend here, but his units are so much worse than the Zerg ones. The upgrades are crazy in favor of the Zerg. The Widowmine friendly fire combines with the Hydras to shoot down a full medevac, and Clem's supply is now down in the dumps.
Yeah, you can see that the man is getting very frustrated here as well. It's one of those mistakes that is very easily made, but it has very significant effects in the game. It's going to take several minutes before he will be able to catch up in that department. And the question is Reynor going to allow him that much room to breathe? The alternative is him giving up on the aggression, but that will mean that Reynor is just going to take the entire map, so he needs to keep doing what he's doing right now. But you can see in the supply count, he's starting to run out of steam. There's the +3 infantry weapon started up as well, but Reynor is ready to go for an all-out assault.
That is a heck of a lot of Zerg. That planetary fortress trying to hold its ground, but the Lings, the Hydras, the Banelings, it's just too much. 14 SCVs and the planetary go down. Clem trying to fight backwards here. He's on the back foot. The only thing he has is a lot of command centers. He built a lot of infrastructure before. He's trying to recover the SCVs. If Clem can fight back from here, he knows it's going to be an uphill road, but he will not give up easily. This is his last chance. This is already the greatest performance he's had at a big Premier tournament before, making it here to the semifinals over some of the best opposition in the world. But if he could find a way to stabilize and bring back this game and bring back the comeback, it would be truly glorious for him. Of course, the odds are not on his side. Reynor is relentless. Reynor is looking too powerful. The Ling Bane is swarming in towards the production. Clem trying to counterattack the bottom right, but he's going to lose control of his barracks.
Yeah, brilliant play right here by Reynor. Absolutely everywhere throughout all of these games. He's now breaking into the main base of the Terran player. That's the soft underbelly, right? This is where all of those Terran units are born. This is where they spawn out of their structures. And Reynor is going to be able to pick all of the new reinforcements off for practically free. He's dealing with the fights at home as well. 22 additional SCVs have gone down. The hatchery manages to stay alive. And it's Reynor who's moving on to the grand finals of Gamers 8.
Yeah, I don't know what Reynor's been eating lately, but he just is coming in looking different. He is on another level of preparation. His strategies are tight, and it feels like nothing surprises him in game.
I think Clem a little bit too frustrated right there, realizing that those upgrades weren't kicking in. He may have very well selected the structures and he didn't have the money for it. He probably only looked at it for a split second, and that's got to be a frustrating loss right there. But an absolutely amazing display of skill right there by Reynor.
And of course, it's heartbreaking when you forget upgrades like that. 300 practice games, that happens in maybe one of those 300 practice games. But when you're on a big stage and you play such a hectic style like that, Widow Mines all over, you are playing one of the most high APM, constant attention styles, and so it's hard to keep track of everything. But of course, the man on the stage weathered all of it.
Reynor, impressive 3-0 victory there, very cleanly done. This is a match that a lot of people are really looking forward to, and I think part of that is the story of back and forth between you guys. So what do you feel like lets you pull away in this matchup?
Well, as I said many times, this is a big stage. Nerves come in for normal people a lot. I don't feel nerves, I'm not sure why. I actually play better when I go main stage, when I go on the big stage. I don't know, I have no idea why, but this is definitely like a big plus for me. I know that Clem obviously feels the stage a little bit, and you can tell it in his play. So I think it's a mix of those two things. Yeah.
سألنا رينر في السؤال الأول في المقابلة نتكلم عن الهيستوري اللي موجود بينه وبين كلم، بالذات إنه كثير من الناس كانوا مرة متشوقين يشوفون المباراة هذه، خصوصا إنه رينر أخذها 3-0. فسألناه عن الهيستوري اللي بينهم، يقول صراحة أنا بالنسبة لي أنا ما أدري ليش أنا دائما ألعب على المين ستيج بشكل أفضل ودائما ما أكون متوتر، لكن بالمقابل كلم واضح عليه إنه دائما يكون متوتر على المين ستيج، وهذا الشيء اللي أنا شاهدته قبل شوي في المباراة، وال3-0 كانت تثبات للنقطة هذه.
Well, would I be wrong to assume that some of that confidence comes from the exceptional amount of practice and studying and preparation that you put into a match like this? What did that look like for this matchup?
Well, I would like to make it clear, because a lot of people just assume that I'm like confident out of nowhere, you know, like that I'm cocky and stuff. But my confidence doesn't come from who I play, it comes from me and how I feel and how much I practice and how much time I put into the game. And when I put this match and when I play this match, I can tell like my speed and everything, and then that's where the confidence comes from, you know. It's hard work. It's not like I'm confident always. Sometimes I'm not confident because I don't put enough time into a game or whatever. But yeah, all the opponents are great here. Clem was great. It's just, yeah, practice a lot, speed. I don't know.
سألنا رينر عن وش اللي صار في المباراة هذه أكثر، لكن كان يقول لنا إنه بيستغل الفرصة هذه إنه يعلم كل الناس اللي موجودين معنا في البث المباشر أو حتى الحضور إنه ترى الثقة الزايدة اللي موجودة عندي. كثير من الناس يحسبون إنه أنا عندي ثقة زايدة وعندي إيجو جدا مرتفع، لكن الشيء هذا ما هو صحيح. هو السبب إنه أنا دائما أكون متدرب كويس، وأنا دائما أعرف وش اللي ممكن إني أسويه داخل الجيم، لأني أكون عارف الليمت حقي وعارف وش اللي ممكن إني أقدمه داخل المباراة، وهذا الشيء اللي يخليني دائما أكون واثق بنفسي. لكن مو دائما أنا أكون واثق بنفسي، بعض الأحيان أكون في موقف يكون ما الموضوع ما هو من صالحي أبدا.
What is the relationship to that speed that you're gaining and the momentum that you're gaining getting into the finals here? Do you feel like it's going to carry you, or are you hitting a lull right now? Is this interview going too long? Am I making you tired?
No, it's fine. To be honest, I was a little bit worried because I was like, oh man, I'm feeling, I don't know if I'm feeling pressure, but I was feeling something before the match versus Clem, and then as soon as I hit the PC and reloaded into the game, I started getting pumped. You know, I felt very unstoppable, and I felt like I was playing super fast, and yeah, I don't know, it happens when I load into the game apparently, so yeah.
سألنا رينر عن المباراة الجاية اللي بتكون هي الجراند فاينل، راح نشهدها الليلة إن شاء الله بعد ساعات قليلة، لكن لازم نعرف مين اللي بيكون خصمه. قبل كذا كنا نتكلم عن وش اللي ممكن يصير داخل المباراة هذه في الجراند فاينل. كان يتكلم على انه يقول انا صراحة اول ما اني دخلت الجيم مع انه كنت متوتر شويتين، لكن مجرد ما اني سويت لود الجيم ودخلت على طول احساس التوتر كله راح من عندي، صار عندي ثقة عالية بنفسي اني ممكن ادي اداء كويس في هذا الجيم، فاتوقع انه ممكن نفس الشيء هذا يصير في الجراند فاينل.
You're the first player to qualify into the finals here in Riyadh at Gamers8. It is a huge prize pool. It is a huge tournament for StarCraft. What does it mean to you to be placing there?
I mean, it's, I don't know, I'm so happy. If anyone had any doubts about my preparation or if I was taking this tournament serious, maybe in the group stages I was looking a little bit shaky. I think it's safe to say that you guys don't need to worry about it. I think I got this, so yeah, hopefully I can take it into the finals. It would be a huge success for my career, since it would be one of the biggest, well, probably the biggest offline win, because I won the World Championship, but it was online, so I would really like it to win offline as well, so yeah.
سألنا رينر السؤال الأخير في هذه المقابلة، نتكلم عن الجراند فاينل نفسه والشعور أنه يكون هو أول شخص يتأهل معنا الجراند فاينل معنا في جيمرز 8. كان يقول أنه أنا بس ودي أوضح النقطة لكل الناس اللي يتابعون، أنه صراحة التجهيزات حقتي ممكن ما كانت كويسة في الجروب ستيج ولاحظتوا الشيء هذا، لكن الآن أنا بكون جاهز جدا، وهذه المباراة اللي قبل شوي شاهدناها هي إثبات على شيء اللي ممكن أقدمه في هذه المباراة. زيادة على كذا لازم يكون أنه يعني يفوز في البطولة هذه، لأنه بتكون أكبر إنجاز له، خصوصا أنه فاز بكأس العالم أول، إلا أنه كان كأس العالم أونلاين، فيقول هالمرة هذه أبغى أفوز في انترناشونال تورنمنت دائما تكون اوفلاين، اكيد بيكون عندي افضليه اني اقدر افوز الشيء هذا.
You've already achieved so much, but there's more to do, so we're going to let you rest. We're going to send it back to the studio for another look at those matches.
نبي نخلي الان رينر يستريح اعزائنا المشاهدين، لانه جاء الوقت نروح للاستديو تحليلي نتكلم عن كيف قدر يفوز 3-0 في هذه المباراه، وبرضه نجهز للمباراه الثانيه للنصف النهائي، باقي ما بعد خلص.
Too strong, too smart, too fast, too powerful, too much for Clem to handle here. Reynor shows that he has so much experience on an international stage like this. What a dominating victory from him in the long form matches. Joining me, Wardy and Rotterdam, to talk about this. Roddy, I'll start with you, because that was a masterclass from Reynor on a stage like this.
It was dominating, but he still had to work incredibly hard for it, right? I think especially the first two games. And we can't forget that it all started off on Babylon. And a lot of people look at this as, that's a great map for Terran, right? Yes, it might be, but Reynor is the one who picked Babylon. It surprised Clem, and I don't even totally still know why, but some of these engagements were an absolute work of art. And I do really think, Buddy, that was the key to perhaps a lot of the success throughout the entire best of 5.
Absolutely, because some of these fights were just phenomenal. And in the moment as well, Clem's doing what he always does. He pushes up, he's aggressive, he's a bit everywhere. And then Reynor's just ready to wrap around. He gets on top of the Marines. It felt like he never had one of those fights where it's like, oh gosh, he's just lost so much.
Yeah.
And if he did, it was overwhelmed and looked over by the great fights he had prior or just afterwards as well. So yeah, I mean, he played phenomenal, man. Like, he really brought that power from Björn in the quarterfinals and brought it here in the semis.
Yeah, we can't emphasize that enough, because some of these fights, they were actually still close, despite the fact that Reynor came in from 360 degrees. No scope, Pepsi, all that jazz, Kalaris. He had all of it, and even then some of these fights were close. So imagine if Reynor would have had a more lackluster approach to some of these fights, and he would only come in from 2 angles, it wouldn't have been enough. That second game, I thought it was a lot of fun as well, Wadi. The third one, though, I don't want to be too dramatic about it, and it's like, oh, the wheels were coming up, but I did feel you could really see the pressure was getting to Clem a bit in game 3.
Yeah. No, it's very, very true. I mean, he had a pretty good momentum-based opening, but then he just never really did anything else with it. And the moment he tried to do something more than just drop mines, Reynor just came and slammed into him. And from there, it just didn't feel like Clem really had much of a chance in this third game. Not as much of a fight as he put up. I know it's ancient, I know it's a tougher map for Terran, but Reynor just withheld, withstanded, and then boom, just got in.
We're looking at the clock there, 19-20 minute game, and Clem is upgrades but still not complete. And that's obviously not because Clem doesn't think about these things, it's just the intensity that Reynor brought to this semi-finals. Even for an ultra-fast player like Clem, apparently that was a lot to handle.
Intense is a great way to describe it, because it was, from the games and what
to watch this all well, right? When you look at it over his shoulder, when this cameraman stands behind him, we're like, look at each other like, that boy is video gaming right now.
Exactly what I wanted to say. You looked at his mouse movement and his keyboard and just everything. Mid-game, he's just blazingly quick in a game like this. And again, we get another pretty serious interview here from Clem. This is not any ordinary tournament for Clem Wardy. You see it in his gameplay, you see it in the interviews. He's out for blood.
You mean Reynor, but yes.
Sorry, Reynor, I said yeah.
But yeah, no, he's dead serious in his interviews. I like his interviews make so much sense as well, because like you say, we look at him over the shoulder and he's like, he's video gaming, and then he says, I got in the game and I felt like I was playing fast. Well, it freaking looked like he was playing fast as well. And I mean, I don't know how you contest with that, right? Like, credit to Clem, he put up an amazing fight. Yeah. Maybe a couple of different engagements, and we do see a few more maps, but I feel like it was always going to be Reynor's way.
Yeah, of course. Actually, I do have been informed. If you take a look here, just as time is going, like, it gets even more frantic than this when we were actually watching it as well, Rotterdam. He was just all over the place.
Next time your parents walk into you and be like, are you playing video games again? Just say no, because I don't lose like that, okay? I'm not video gaming, Mom. That's video gaming right there. Now, the boy was dialed in, man, and he really has been from the moment he arrived here in Saudi Arabia. He looked around. He's been like somewhat calm, relaxed, smile on his face. He's clearly very happy that he's here, but he's been putting in the work. Not alone. Coach Lambo's in his corner again as well. They've gone over all these openings of these guys, and you just look at him, and it's not the aura of like I'm invincible, but it's the aura of I know that I've done what I need to do to be as ready for this as I could possibly be, and hopefully that's good enough, and so far it absolutely is good
All
enough.
I've got to do is execute. I'm scared of the presence that serious Reynor is exuding at this tournament. It is a bit terrifying, and it might be terrifying for either Solar or Cure in that grand final. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to go to a short break. When we return, we have our next semi-final on the way. Which Korean is going to go up against it? Will it be Solar or will it be Cure in that final? We'll find out.